AI will definitely help you to win more negotiations if you use it the right way. Not by replacing you, but by making sure that you are the best prepared party to this negotiation that's present in the room. You know, there's so much data available today. There's so much information coming at us that it's very important that we understand what information we really need to consider and look at. You know, what's the 20% of the information that provides 80% of the value? And that's what we really need to focus on. So I want to give you, in this video, I want to give you 3 areas to focus on so that you can harness AI to make sure that you walk into the room as the best prepared negotiator in that room. The first one is to use AI. Oh, by the way, I'm going to give you some prompts in the comments here that you can just copy and paste for each one of these points that I'm making that will help you to get the benefit of AI supporting your preparation. So the first one is to check out 2 things, to help AI, or to set up AI to help you to identify all the stakeholders to this negotiation. So you want to make sure that you identify all the decision makers, right? This is one of the biggest errors that I see people make before they go into a negotiation, is that they don't really know who they're negotiating with. They don't understand the stakeholder landscape, right? They don't know who the decision makers are that can say yes, not just the ones that can say no. There are far more people that can say no than there are people who can say yes. And when you're dealing with complex negotiations, you want to make sure you identify the people who can say yes. And then secondly, you want to make sure that you understand the interests of all those different stakeholders. So you want to create a view of all the stakeholders, all the parties that will be involved in making a decision, and you want to make sure that you have a view of all the interests. So if you look at the comments below here, you'll see the prompt associated with that, which you can just copy and paste, and it'll help you with your transaction to be able to know who to speak to and what to say to the people that you'll speak to. You see, the challenge we have normally the way negotiation works is we have a great plan, we have a great proposal, and what we do is we just try to convince people from our perspective. But that's not the most effective way of doing it, right? Which is why we want to use AI to understand what it is that motivates people. First of all, who the people are we need to engage with, and then what motivates those people, so that we can take the elements from our argument, from our presentation, and we can put that in front of them, matching their interests, rather than to convince them of the things that we think are important. We can just supply them with the insights into the things that they think are important. Of course, we're going to make sure that the whole value proposition is covered in the paperwork and the documentation that we use to support our case, but it's very important we speak to the right people and that we give them the right message. The second way that you can use AI to give you the edge in any negotiation is to use it to help you to run simulations as you get ready for this negotiation, right? So once again, you'll see a prompt below in the comments here, which will help you to set up those simulations. But here's the thing: to have a useful simulation take place, you have to come at it not from your perspective, but from your counterpart's perspective. So the first way that you set up a simulation, or the first simulation that you do, is you try to fulfill the role of your counterpart, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to instruct AI to set you up with a brief, because now remember, you've identified who the stakeholders are and what their key interests are, and now you're going to argue their point, their case, right? So you're going to use AI to play your role. So AI is going to simulate your role in this negotiation, and you're going to simulate the role of your counterpart. And I mean, you can do that using voice in something like ChatGPT, or you can type in those simulations, and you will get valuable feedback and insight from doing that. Once you've done that, from that perspective, what you do is you turn it around. And now you negotiate it from your perspective, and you test your arguments versus your preparation in terms of how it satisfies the needs of your counterparts. Very, very powerful tool. Let me tell you, simulation is the key way that you improve your results rapidly in the shortest period of time. And now with AI, you have the opportunity to, and this doesn't have to be fancy. You can use ChatGPT, you can use any of the models to set up a simulation. You just need to have the right way of thinking about it, and setting up the prompts to support you to have a successful negotiation simulation. So refer to the prompt below here, and that's going to help you to run a simulation successfully. Here's the third way I want to talk about today that you can use AI to significantly improve the quality of your preparation and the likeliness that you're going to win what you need to win from this negotiation. What you're going to do is you're going to take all communications that you've had with your counterparts in pursuit of this deal, right? So the proposals you've sent them, the communications, the feedback you've received from them, maybe recordings of calls you've had with them, Teams recordings, Zoom recordings, notes from your AI assistants, all the data that you have that underpins this discussion. And you're going to run that through AI, and you're going to ask AI to do a semantics analysis on all of that data that you've gathered, right? Both the communications that originated from your side of the table, so everybody on your team and your company, but also all the communications that have come from your counterparts. And you instruct AI to do a semantics analysis, and then you're going to see what the governing emotions are, and you'll get amazing insights, which you wouldn't have even believed possible if you ask AI to do a semantics analysis on that. And then the second thing you do is you can also ask it to do some kind of a pattern analysis around a key few concepts, which you'll see I've highlighted here below, so that you can pick up any trends in the way that you communicate, or any of the trends that you pick up in the way that your counterparts communicate, because that's where your leverage lies, right? If you can spot the pattern, this is by the way, this is the definition of an expert. This is what experts do. They capable of spotting the pattern because they have access to lots of experience and data, right? So we're going to use the AI to help us to pick up the patterns, and that's then going to feed back into our decision making. So 3 ways that you can use AI to improve your negotiation results significantly, your win rate and the margins associated with that win rate. So the 3 of them: first, use AI to identify all the stakeholders, make sure you understand all the interests that motivate each one of those stakeholders. Secondly, you're going to use AI to set up simulations. First, you're going to play the role of your counterpart to get insight into their interests, their motivations, etc. And then you're going to switch it out, and then you're going to represent your side versus your counterpart's side, with a view of making sure that you prepared for anything that they might throw at you. And then lastly, what you're going to do is you're going to do a thorough analysis. You're going to gather all the information, all the data that you can in terms of communications from both sides of the table. So, maybe you stick that tender request in there, right? Do a semantics analysis on the tender request. Do a comparative analysis versus other tender requests, etc. See what patterns you can pick up, because that's always going to give you an insight into, what's the strategy, what's the drive, what's the bent that you need to follow here to make sure that you position your message in the most effective way. Hope that helps you.